this week we've been back in significant lockdown measures. Our children are all home from school, we're all cooped up together. We're longing to be able to get out and do things that we haven't been able to do for a while. Perhaps our society at the moment is a bit like a bottle of pop. What happens when you shake a bottle of pop and then you take the lid off? There's an explosion of what's inside. I read an article this week about the disruption lockdown has brought to people's social lives. So pubs and bars and nightclubs, they're all closed. In some countries there have been alcohol restrictions, and so all of that has brought about a decline in other things. So this writer writes about how there is no casual sex and what people call hooking up. In the article, the writer looks back through history and notes that during the Black Death that ravaged Europe in the 14th century, survivors became wildly hedonistic, organising lavish parties and feasts in alehouses, simply to celebrate the fact that they were alive amidst the spectre of death and misery all around them. They spent day and night moving from one tavern to the next, drinking without mode or measure, engaging only in those activities that gave them pleasure. The writer goes on to write of those who have hoped that COVID-19 will somehow put an end to casual sex and hookup culture in favour of marriage. But he notes, humans have always hooked up, despite what traditional morality said, and will continue to do so. Once this third, and we can only hope final lockdown comes to an end, lust will be in the air. I'm sure that soon, like a bottle of pop, when these lockdowns end, the explosion will come. The Apostle Peter once wrote this to Christians. He said, so he was writing about the non-Christian world all around the Christians he was writing to, they are surprised that you do not join them in their reckless, wild living, and they heap abuse on you. He describes how Christians were given a hard time because they were living by a different moral standard. The Christian is someone who has experienced a change in the very heart of their being. God has changed them there. And because of that, the Christian is someone who has new desires. They see a beauty and a goodness to the ways of God. The Apostle Paul could write that in my inner being, I delight in God's law. The Christian will often feel like they're in a battle. They have conflicting desires. But what they really want in their innermost being is to live according to God's perfect blueprint for life. Those who go to Jesus to be made clean and to know forgiveness, those people are made new people with new desires and a new will. To follow Jesus is not the absence of pleasure. Rather, it is true pleasure, and to know him is eternal life.